So on this journey of life, we all get to walk this road, but we all have to carry our own backpacks. And in those backpacks, we have things. It's stuff that we are having to deal with. So it's either things from our past, it's things that we are presently dealing with, it's our life circumstances, it's the responsibilities that we have. And sometimes they aren't like out of the ordinary things. It's just normal life. It's the pressures of your work, of relationships. It's some of the tension in marriage. It's the responsibility of your children. It's all of the little things that are there. And you know that these are parts of your life, parts of the responsibility that you are carrying. It's part of the backpack, the burdens that are there. And it's so important for us to know that those burdens are part of life. They are not things that we should just wish away and things that we should constantly be upset about and resent and think, well, if only I didn't have to deal with this. Because everybody is dealing with their own things. And here's the important part. We are not called to be dealing with these things completely on our own, independently. And that's part of the trick that gets us to feel that life is really tough and really difficult and that we don't want to carry on like this. Because firstly, we don't live independently of others. But most importantly, we don't live independently of the Lord. He wants to be a part of all of those things that you are carrying. And that's why in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6, the Lord writes, and he says this, or Peter writes it, and he says, "Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, because he cares for you." And that's so important to understand, that the primary part of having burdens is so that we can take them to the Lord. That's the most important part of why God allows this world to continue in its brokenness. And sometimes those burdens get pretty heavy. And sometimes we have to deal with things in life that are unexpected. Things that are just out of the ordinary, not the norm. Things that overwhelm and press us down. Sometimes it's not just that life has thrown you a curveball. It's that life has thrown you a curve boulder and you are incapacitated, immobilized by life's issues. Now, Paul deals with this in the book of Galatians. And in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, it says, "Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself." So these moments when you're stuck under a boulder and life has really hit you hard, and maybe it's in those moments where we lose track of the most important ingredient when dealing with any burdens, when dealing with life. The most important ingredient is a healthy dose of humility. And that's why when Peter writes, the first thing he says is, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. And here again, when Paul is dealing with burdens, he's saying, don't think that you can do this on your own. So when you're stuck under a boulder and you're telling everybody else, "No, you guys carry on. No, I'm fine. I'll sort this out. Don't worry. I'll get out of this. No problem. You go ahead. I'll catch up later." And everybody's walking past and they can see you. Like the boulder's like 50 times bigger than you. And you're struggling, but you just don't want to ask. And so when you get to those things, those out of the ordinary moments of life, those incredibly heavy burdens, things that are not just part of every day, like losing a loved one, a close friend or a family member, maybe even just losing a peer that brings a reality to life. Just those are the moments when you have to admit, okay, this is heavy. Maybe it's something not just of a tragic loss of life, but maybe the breakdown of a meaningful relationship. Maybe it's an area where a close friend that you've had for a long time has become distant, or maybe there's been a fallout. Perhaps it's a separation or a divorce within a marriage that is really, really heavy to deal with. Or maybe it's a betrayal where trust has been completely broken. Maybe life has just given you an unexpected curveball and you've received news, a terminal diagnosis. Maybe there's been somebody in the family or even you yourself that have faced life-altering changes and a serious accident or something that has happened. Maybe it's financial, like a job loss or bankruptcy. And these are really, really heavy things that you're not supposed to deal with on your own. Those are the things where you have to reach out and you have to, in humility, be able to say, I need help. And knowing the difference between this is something I should carry myself and this is something I can't handle. That's so, so important. And we want to bring that clarity. So when we look at sharing, it's not good to not share your overwhelming burdens. That shows a lack of humility and you're going to really struggle. But there's another side to this, and that is trying to share your bearable burdens, trying to share the things that you should be carrying. And that's where in Galatians 6, the very next part, Paul writes in the verses that follow, he says, but let each one examine his own work, and then he will have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For each one shall bear his own burden. Now that seems like a contradiction. So just 2 verses before that, Paul says, bear one another's burdens. And then he says, but you must bear your own burdens. Because that is not an overwhelming burden. That is, you need to bear your own load. You need to bear your own portion, the part of life that you should be carrying. And there's good reason for that. And that's what we want to have a look at. Because there is a time when you need to say to those around you, you shouldn't be carrying this on your own. This is too heavy for you to bear alone. And then there are times when you need to say to those around you, you need to deal with your own stuff. This is something I can't help you with. You need to carry this and take it to the Lord. Now, in our life journey that we've been on, and in the last season, there have been a couple of heavy moments, and I haven't always known, well, is this something that I should carry on my own? Because, whoa, the weight of this is really heavy. And so I have discussed that with friends, and one particular friend, whilst we were running, and I was giving some of the background of the story, and I didn't realize it, but as the story came out, I was perhaps reaching out and asking, like, can you maybe take some of this load? And this particular friend, who has walked his own journey, been through his own difficulties, gave me some of the worst advice that was so encouraging. It was not easy to accept at the time, but yet strangely it felt right and godly. And after I had shared with him what my struggles were and this burden that I thought was overwhelming, he literally just turned to me and he said, yeah, you've only just started on this journey. You've still got a long, long way to go. And don't worry, you're going to be okay. Just keep taking this to the Lord, because He will strengthen you. And you're going to learn things through this. And as much as what I was trying to palm it off to him, he literally just said, no, this is yours. You think it's overwhelming? You're not there yet. And how beautiful that advice was. Because what it did was it encouraged me to know that, he's been there. In fact, he's been a lot further than where I am right now. And he walked that road with the Lord. And that's what he's telling me to do. Because there are lessons there that we learn that we don't learn anywhere else. So Romans chapter 5 verse 3 and 4, beautiful verses, and it says, and not only that, but we also glory in tribulation. We glory in the difficulties. We glory in the burdens that we have, knowing that these burdens, these tribulations, produce perseverance. And perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. And that is the purpose of the burdens that we are supposed to carry ourselves. The stuff in your backpack that sometimes feels really heavy, it has a great purpose. And that purpose is to build that perseverance and that character. It is to strengthen you. So knowing the difference between burdens is possibly one of the most important. And so we want to be able to look and say, sometimes I have to realize that the things that I'm dealing with when I start feeling that it's heavy, and no, they're maybe not like completely out of the ordinary stuff. It's like it's day-to-day stuff that everybody else is having to deal with. But I'm just feeling the weight of it. And maybe I need to ask those around me, the one or two people that I can really trust, the people that I'm walking closely with, I need to ask them, can we just slow down a little bit? I need to talk about this. Can you listen? Just slow down and walk with me as I tell you about this. That process on its own is often what you need. It's the encouragement. It's the upliftment that you need. But sometimes you might need to stop altogether and say, okay, hang on. I can't just carry on here. I need to stop and I need to unpack. I need to get the stuff out of this backpack because something's not right. I need to just have a look. Take the stuff out, assess, and then pack it again. And that process might be more than just one conversation. That might be like a day or two, a week, maybe even a month of, I need to look at this carefully because I need to pay attention. And then you might need to not just slow down, not just stop, but maybe there's something that you're dealing with that you have to share. Now, in each of those, there is a key ingredient. So the key ingredient is humility. In every single one of those, it takes humility to be able to say to those around you, can we slow down? Because what I'm admitting is, I'm not keeping up with the pace of life here. It takes humility to say, can we stop? Like, sorry, we're not going to make any progress because I need to deal with this. And it takes humility to be able to ask and say, please, can you help me with this? I can't carry on. And humility is the thing that you need to look for. So whenever you feel burdened, whenever you feel like, this is heavy, here's the thing. I want us all to have this spark. So when I have a burden, the first trigger that I want us to do is to say, I need to go find me some humility. I need to go scratch around. I need to go look in my character, go look in the drawers, go look wherever I can and make sure that I've got some humility with me and be prepared to use it. Because when I feel burdened, that's going to be the ingredient that I need. I need that humility. So if that's the key ingredient, then we want to get to our first action. Our first action, the first thing that we want to do, once I've found my humility, the first thing I want to do is I want to go and seek the Lord. I want to make sure that I've had the conversation with Him as a primary point of call. And what do I mean by seek the Lord? That sounds very like Christian-y. What I mean, it's very simple. It's go to Him and have the conversation. It's literally take some time and go and speak to the Lord and say, this is what I'm dealing with. Lord, please, I need your help. I want to trust you with this. And I'm not sure if this is something that you want me to carry or if it's something I need to share and ask for help. But I'm going to ask you first. And then once you have spoken to Him and once you have trusted Him, I promise you, the Lord is going to work because He really does care. And that's why God says that He wants us to come to Him with all of the things that we're anxious about and to pray to Him, because it's that first thing, the first action that we need to do, to seek the Lord with humility, And then, if necessary, to ask others for help with humility. So burdens are going to be a part of everyday life. It's part of living. You want to live? Well, you're going to take a backpack with you, and there's going to be stuff in that backpack. And so we're going to have to bear those burdens. But here's the good news. As we do that, God promises to strengthen us. He promises to strengthen our relationships. He promises to build character. And as you are strengthened, well, the time is going to come when a boulder comes again in life, but it's not going to knock you off your feet. You're not going to be incapacitated and immobilized. In fact, you're going to realize that you are now strengthened in the Lord, and that you can face these things because you have gone to Him first. You have seen His strength that is made perfect in your weakness. And that is the beautiful byproduct of humility. It is finding your strength where it is the strongest. And that is not in ourselves, but in the Lord. In 2 Corinthians, Paul writes, 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 3, and he says, "Blessed be the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble, with the comfort with which we ourselves have been comforted by God." And that is the beautiful purpose of being able to bear your burdens, and being able to share your burdens, and being able to bear the burdens of others, that we will please the Lord and grow and allow Him to be our comfort and our strength.